What's up, people? Hope all is well with you. Kenneth here, 100 Years of Wealth checking in. I wanted to make a quick video just to give you some basic information that might hopefully help you out. Maybe you don't need it, maybe you could share it with someone that might need it. But I always feel like part of what I want to do is kind of just like expose or give information regarding my industry. For people that were like me. There's a lot of people out there that did not do well in the school system, right? Doesn't mean that they weren't smart, doesn't mean that they weren't like extraordinarily intelligent or have some sort of gift or talent. It just means that within the school system, either that time in their life, it wasn't organized enough for them to be focused on school, or like me, the moment a teacher starts talking too much, I kind of tend to like fall asleep in class. But honestly, in high school, I wasn't as focused as I probably should have been, and I had a bunch of extracurricular activities outside of school going on. So it made it to where my mind state wasn't where it needed to be to push from high school into college with a focus on what career is going to put me in the best position. Looking back, I'm a pretty competitive person, so I'm like, dude, I wish I would have pushed harder in high school to show like the best grades possible and things like that. But it is what it is. So my point is, for a lot of people that didn't have like a fluid school, career, going from high school directly into college and into some sort of field that pays well, like an attorney, a doctor, some other fields, engineering, construction, depending on what you're trying to do. But everyone's idea of what paying well or what being paid well is different. But my point is that no matter what that level is, whether it's 70K a year, 150, 200K, whatever the case is, for a lot of people, school provides like a streamlined system from high school to college directly into some line of work that should be able to at least provide a basic lifestyle. For a lot of other people, they went from high school to work, and that job probably wasn't something that they really planned on doing long term, and it wasn't probably well thought out. It was probably just what was available, and you end up getting kind of caught in that rut, or staying in that line of work, and sometimes there's not really big income increases depending on what it is. I found that a lot of people, when I was kind of coming out of high school, went out of high school, worked some basic jobs, worked at like Jack in the Box, and then started looking at trying to make a little bit more money. A lot of the guys that I knew were going into like little hustles, sales positions, selling cell phones, doing things like that, working in the mall, trying to hustle products or whatever the case is, because you had the ability to make commission and make a little bit more than your normal base pay. So I did that. I was selling cell phones, started making more money. And at the same time, there was a time frame where I was doing a little schooling, going to like a junior college or whatever the case was. And I had a daughter very early, so it just wasn't one of those things where I could only focus on school and kind of just sit back. My mom had moved from California to Georgia, where my stepdad was from, and I really just had to work. So I had to work, but I still wanted to try to do the school thing, but I just wasn't focused enough to really push through and have some sort of like plan on what I wanted to do within school. So just worked, and then that's when I came across real estate. Talked to some person that was at a booth inside the Lakewood Mall here in Southern California, and she told me about her career as a real estate agent, how much money she had made on certain transactions. And that was really enough for me to say, okay, you know what, at least for now, I want to get into that. So I started working on my license, and started working on my real estate license, got that process going, and at the same time started being introduced to home loans and mortgage transactions, which back then, like early 2000s, you didn't need a license. So point in this whole conversation was to say this. Even though early on in my career in real estate and mortgage, I wasn't as focused as I am now and didn't have as much success. I had like up and down success. I would make money and then kind of, not be focused because I was like early 20s, had a kid, into art and graffiti and a bunch of different things like that, and clothing and stuff like that. So it made it to where that was something where I was like, great, making money, very happy to do it, but just not in the right mind state. As I matured, I got more focused and understood the capabilities of our industry and really locked in. So point is that if you're a person that didn't go to school, or didn't graduate from college, or maybe didn't, or even if you did graduate from college, maybe you didn't get the degree that has put you in an income position that you like, or that you're happy with. Real estate finance to me is like that industry that really gives the unlimited income capability to people that want it. It doesn't necessarily just have to be people that didn't complete school. It's really anyone that wants it, because I do actually know attorneys that got their passed the bar, got their law degree, and still ended up in some sort of real estate form, or some sort of fashion in the industry, in the real estate industry. And it's because sometimes they feel like in the line of legal work that they're doing, they don't have the ability to make as much money as they want to, and they see in real estate that if you push, if you invest in yourself, if you work hard, you can definitely make good money. So to all those people that are sitting around, don't really have a full direction, I would say take a look at it. I'm not here to say that everyone should be in real estate, because a lot of people just have different personalities. They won't want to do certain activities. It might not be within who they are as a person, and they're not really willing to bend for the income. They really don't care that much, or they're more like passion driven and want to really do something that they love and that they care about, which I'm all about that too. So this is never to say, hey, you should be doing this. This is more to say, if you're interested in expanding or growing your income, having a higher income capability, putting yourself in a position where you have more flexibility with your time at a certain point. It's not like day one you're like, hey, I'm a flexible realtor and I'm making all this money, or a flexible loan officer and I'm making all this money. It's you get into the industry and you start to build your business, as they would say, and then you can figure out ways to have flexibility because of the nature of our business. So just I wanted to drop that on you guys. Anyone has any actual direct questions, feel free to always DM me. And I also want to I think I'm going to label this video something like how to make 20K in a month. So here's how you make 20K in a month. In the state of California, the average loan amount that I've been seeing for the last few years since I've ran my own company is somewhere in between 450 and 500,000. Could be different for different companies depending on where their marketing is and who they're targeting, but that's what I've been seeing. So let's just say 450, right? Depending on your compensation structure, depending on the type of client, depending on the type of loan, you're gonna make a different percentage per transaction. Sometimes you'll make 1%, sometimes you'll make 2%, sometimes you'll make less than 1%. Just because that's the nature of our business, you have to be flexible and adjust within the scenario to make it work for the client. So with that being said, let's just say you take an average number of, an average of 1.5% on 450,000, right, as an actual commission that an agent can make. So 1.5%. So 1% would be 4,500. Another 0.5% would be like 2,250. All right, so that's 6,750 as an average commission. Rough numbers, estimates, right? So if you think about it, if you're working in a 30-day month, which is 4 weeks, that would mean that you would need to produce enough to close one transaction a week if you wanted to make, well, actually, let's take that back. So let's say 6,700 times 3, that's like roughly, that's over $20,000, right? So if you did three transactions at those average numbers, I'm talking about mortgage transactions, not necessarily real estate. That's a little bit of a different algorithm and a different calculation because of the way that you would get business and the life cycle of your transaction and things like that. But in loans, it's like, there's purchase transactions going on all the time, but there's refinances that are going on. fairly consistently. People are always looking for ways to either take cash out, reduce their monthly payment, things like that. So if you were able to close 3 transactions, 3 times 6,700, roughly going to be around $20,000, maybe just a little bit over $20,000. And depending on your commission structure, now if you're in a situation where you're doing completely self-generated transactions, where you're the only person providing, you're getting all the leads for yourself, you're doing all the legwork, then you're going to get a much larger percentage of that 20K commission. In some scenarios, you could have 100% commission and then just pay the broker a flat fee per transaction if you're very experienced and basically handling the full transaction on your own. And then some scenarios, if you're not as experienced or if the broker is providing you the lead, there's going to be a split on that overall number. Maybe it's a 20% split where you take 16K and the broker's taking 7K or whatever the number is. But that's generally how the broker side and independent side of the business works. Some direct lenders have compensation setups like that, but for the most part, I'm seeing more direct lenders pay on like a unit basis where they'll pay you per unit, and the more units you do, the higher the amount per unit goes up. So it varies, but this is an industry where the barrier to entry is not that high, meaning that it's a license. It's for loan officers, it's 20 hours of education up front. And every year you have to do 8 hours of renewal education, but it's 20 hours up front and then a state test. The test is it requires study, and it's not like you're just gonna walk in there and pass it, but it's passable, obviously, right? It's not like you need to go to school for 6 months or a year or 2 years to get this license. It's something that with a month or so of studying and really diving in and figuring out, what you need to learn, you can pass the test. So my point is that, to have a high income potential as you can as a loan officer and as a real estate agent as well, the barrier to entry is fairly light. It's really about, once you get in, the effort and energy to figure out, that happy medium of, spending a little money on your investment, making or prospecting, outreach to clients, and just really figuring out how to generate that deal, and I think that, it's easy in the sense that if you just work hard and not overthink like the sales side of it, make your sales style just hard work and effort and finding out the information that is required when you do speak to clients, then you'll see that you should be able to pull off 1-2 transactions out there on a monthly basis, if not more, if you're really pushing forward and putting in the consistent effort. So any questions directly, go ahead and DM me. I hope this has provided some information to you, and share it with someone that may need the info. Like, subscribe. You have a great day. Peace.